Hey folks, Chris Ockley here, and welcome to this week's fishing report brought to you by MD Marine Insurance. This week's tip is all about how to use a bait casting reel. If you've never used one before, they can seem a bit daunting, but once you get it set up properly, it becomes a powerful tool for targeting big fish with heavy gear. See, bait casting gear excels with heavier line for big fish, big lures, and really heavy cover. They also pick up a lot more line than a spinning reel, so are key when you're using fast baits like a buzz bait, a spinner bait, sometimes even a crankbait or topwater. All right, let's walk through the typical setup. So you're gonna start with a tension control knob. You're always gonna start with the tension control knob. It's a dial right here next to the reel handle, and you'll want to adjust it every time you change baits. With the reel and free spool, so you're gonna click it open, your lure should fall slowly and smoothly to the ground. If it drops too fast, then tighten the knob up a little bit. And if it barely moves, you can loosen it up slightly. All right, so with the tension control knob now adjusted, we're gonna move on to the braking system. So most bait casters will have either a centrifugal brake inside the side plate like this one, or they'll have a magnetic spool control. It's usually a dial on the outside. Some have both. The centrifugal brakes use pins inside the reel that apply resistance during the first part of the cast. So these are set based on your skill level and general conditions. So the pins are pushed out to slow the revolutions of your spool, making it easier to cast without backlashes. And then they're pushed inward, very much like a figure skater will pull their arms in towards their body to speed up. So as you become more comfortable with the bait caster, you'll be able to move those pins inward and gain casting distance. Now, the 13 fishing reels like the one I've got here, they don't have pins on the inside. In fact, they move to a dial to make it that much easier, so you're not having to fine tune or adjust, especially in those windy or rough conditions. It's just a matter of turning the dial. Crank it all the way up to begin, and as you gain more confidence, you'll be able to dial this back and gain more distance in your cast. So if you have a reel with a magnetic brake or a dial on the outside, it helps control the spool speed throughout the entire cast. They're ideal for windy conditions or when using lighter baits. So you're gonna start on the highest setting and back it off as you gain confidence and control. Now I'm gonna assume that you've likely been fishing for a number of years and are now moving on to a bait caster, so you have the mechanics of an actual cast already down pat. So with the bait caster, we're gonna move on to thumb control. So your thumb is your manual brake. So keep it lightly on the spool during the cast and press down just as lure hits the water to stop the spool cleanly. That'll keep it from continuing to spin and giving you an overrun or backlash. All right, a really quick pro tip, place a small piece of tape on the spool under your line after pulling out a typical cast length. If you get a backlash, it won't run deep into the spool and will be much easier to fix. One thing I tell people who are new to bait casters is wrist positioning matters. It's so much easier if you just turn the reel handle so it's facing downward if you're casting left like I do, or upward if you're casting right. Just gives you a lot more natural and more comfortable casting angle, improves your range of motion, and reduces fatigue. And of course, practice makes perfect. So practice with a medium weight lure in an open area. It can be just a weight even on the end of your line. But you can cast, pitch, or flip until your heart's content in your backyard. Don't do it in your front yard. I've done that lots and had people drive by asking me how the fishing was. I'd keep the cast smooth and controlled, and you'll have that bait caster figured out in no time. And hey, the proof's in the pudding. These two beauties caught today using a bait caster, just like the one I showed you how to set up. When it's dialed in, it makes all the difference. Let's get these guys back. And that's this week's tip of the week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the water. MD Marine, making insurance easy.